Hello, my friends. Welcome to another video. I am just under a week out from my market and starting to feel the crunch. I've been going through all of my lists. Today is Sunday and the market is on Saturday. And I feel like every time I check something off of the list, like 3 more things come to mind that I need to add to the list. Some of that is a bit self-inflicted, especially when it comes to my mystery bag charms, because I ended up changing up what I'm offering, which triggered a bunch of other things that need to be done. So I mentioned in last week's video that I switched from that loaf cat style cat to the Poggy's Place pattern that I used. And then I was figuring out what I was going to do for the rest of the makes, and I decided to change them all up except for the mini bees. The challenge with that is that adds an additional task to it other than making all of those. One of the tasks that ended up creating was I need to make a new sign. People enjoyed having the sign that kind of showed them what could be in the mystery boxes, and I liked offering that so that, yeah, they don't know which one they're getting, but they kind of see what could be in the box. And now I need to change that because I've now changed almost every single plushie that I offer in there. This is the current sign, and my bees stayed the same. I already showed you those. So I've got the brown bees and the black bees, but I ended up changing the loaf cat, and I ended up changing out my raven and my toad and the dragon. The raven and the toad specifically because the yarn that I have is, black for the raven and that really dark green for the toad. And you just couldn't see the eyes well on either of them. I tried to do like a white outline around the eyes, but they're so small. And it's painstaking and it just doesn't look great. I did not like the way the final version came out. So I wanted to change those up. And then the dragon came out really small compared to the other ones, I felt like. And it was also just a little bit like intricate of a pattern for something so tiny with the increases and decreases in the shaping. So I went and just explored some other options, which I am going to show you now. I decided in lieu of the toads for now, because I need to decide if I'm going to keep using the velvet yarn. They do have a lighter green, I just don't have it. Or if I'm going to switch things up like I'm doing with the minis and go with Parfait Chunky, I don't know that yet. So for now, I swapped the toads out with Mushy Boys because it's still very much my aesthetic. So this is the Mushy Boy pattern by Chonky.Crochet. And I made 2 in red, 1 in green, using that dark green, 1 in this wine color, and then 1 in this purple. So those are super cute. I'm happy with that. Got to update the sign with those. The next thing I did was swap out the raven, and I still wanted to use that pattern. So I used Annie Carraway's Little Birdie Friends pattern, and I ended up making a snow owl instead. I got a bit bored with the owl for some reason, and I think it was just because I had purchased some other patterns and I really wanted to try them. So I only have 1 owl this time around, so maybe he's kind of the rare of the bunch. But I ended up pulling some Poggy's Place patterns that I bought for the remainder. In lieu of the dragons that I had, I used Poggy's Place pattern called Fantastical Friends to make a new version of the dragon. And this is what he's looking like. So he's just a chunky little guy with his tail and his wings and his little horns. Do I think he's super dragon-like? Not necessarily. He's a ball with features, but he fits in line with everything else. Size comparison, it works great with the bees and the cats and the mushy boys. So I think it's going to be great for this time around. So I have 2 of this guy. And then the last one that I did was a pattern called Stitches and Troll. And Stitches is basically a squirrel. So I made Stitches, and he's super cute. All of these, again, are with Bernat Velvet and a 4mm hook. And then I made a gray Stitches. So we have the brown and the gray. So those guys are going to replace the toad and the raven, and then obviously the dragon swap out. My goal was to have 20 mystery boxes for this event, and I do have that once you add all these guys up. The task list is still very long in the sense that I've got to turn them all into bag charms. Yesterday, I was able to work on the mini bees. So I did get all of those assembled, and then I made the little crystal danglies for the rest of these guys in color coordinating crystals and stuff like that. But I do need to put the chains on and assemble them and do all of that. I also wanted to make holiday versions of my mystery bag charms. Now, I didn't want to go crazy. I only wanted to make like 5 or so. I ended up making 6. And this is also using Poggy's Place pattern. This one is basically, I think, called Santa, Mrs. Claus, Elf, and Reindeer. She has a bunch of different bundles. You can get one with all of the characters in it. I think it has like a Grinch and stuff like that. But these are just the ones that I needed. So I made these in Parfait Chunky, and I used a 5mm hook. I don't know if it's because my tension is easing up a little bit or my hands were tired, but the 5.5 was just feeling a little too loose. So I swapped to a 5. And that's what Santa looks like. These are super cute, kind of a pain with the color changes, but I knew that was going to be the case. And then here is the elf. And I have 2 of these guys. So I've got Santa, 2 elves, and then I made 3 Rudolph. And this is just a safety nose. I think it's a 10mm safety nose. All of these guys have 8mm eyes. I did make one change. The pattern calls for doing the tail in white. But it felt awkward. There's another reindeer that has a white chest, but the Rudolph pattern didn't, and it was less color changes, so I went with the all brown. But I didn't like this so much in white. I didn't think it made sense. So the other 2 that I made, I just did brown tails on. So these guys will be cute. And again, I need to put the crystals together and make all the actual keychains for them. I also need to sticker all the boxes. I did print all the stickers yesterday, but I do need to sticker all of the boxes. So for the 20 of the regular, and I designed yesterday and created stickers for the holiday ones. So I need to sticker all of those as well. So those things were not originally on my list. I don't know why. I just had mystery bag charms as one item, but it's like 10 tasks each one. So the other thing was I got my email that said, I'm in spot 70 and with a map and all that good stuff and check-in times and everything. And it had the reminder that I'm supposed to make a donation for the raffle. So I was like, no. So I was looking through my patterns and I was like, what's kind of quick but represents me? I didn't want to do a holiday make because I want to be respectful of anyone who might win the raffle. Perhaps they don't celebrate Christmas. So I thought I want to do something that's more representative of Enchanted Skein. So I decided to go with the mulberry pattern by Fox and Faye, which you've seen me make before. Last time I made it in Naughty Pony, but the value has to be between $20 and $25. So I upped the ante a little bit and made him in blanket yarn. And this is my mulberry. This guy is a combination of yarns. This is Bernat Baby Blanket, I think, and sand. And then there's some chenille basics in here. This is the glittery yarn. I originally made this in more of a mauve color to kind of tie in, I thought, a little better, but it looked too much of a natural tone and kind of gave it the look of like a...
Wang! Pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie. Yeah. What's that?
Well, it looks like a giant...
Johnson.
Yeah, so I swapped that out for the glittery pink, and it's a nice little accent. He's got his hand-painted eyes with some pink and purpley sparkles in there, and his little bag. This is Parfait Chunky, and then I used some of the... What is this yarn called? The fluffy yarn. Feels like bliss. To make a few moss patches on his hat. So this will be my raffle donation. He's all done. Another thing off the list, thankfully. And then I was like, I want to make something that I think is fun. A while back, I purchased a pattern called Baby Christmas Mushrooms by Lyra Lane Designs. And I decided to make those. These guys are all in Parfait Chunky. And let me show you how they came out. This is the first guy. He's in a little sack. I love these guys so much. And he can go right back into his little sack. And these guys have 20mm safety eyes, all hand painted, specific to them. So this is the first guy, the little Christmas tree. And then we've got a gingerbread candy design, seeing all the fluff in the light. And he's got some sweet little colorful eyes. And then last but not least, we have this guy. And he's got some fall colored eyes. They have a red gold shift. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but this is the Loops and Threads fluffy yarn from Michaels. The triple stranded stuff. I ended up making the circle in Parfait Chunky and then surface crocheting this on because it was just not worth running around with that yarn so much. So this is this guy. But yeah, these guys are so stinking cute. And together they're just, can I hold them all? Let's see. Together they're just so freaking adorable. I wish I had more time to make them, but I'm also thinking, I don't know how many of these are going to sell, you know? So if they don't sell, that's fine. They'll go up in my house as decoration because I absolutely just love them. And that is everything that I got made this week. I also got a lot of those things that I mentioned checked off the list yesterday, and there's still a lot left to be done. I went through my inventory and I realized that I don't have any showstoppers. I had sold my really big dragon. I can't use the Forest Guardian because he's staying with me. I mentioned in another video, his eye seems a little shady. I don't want it to pop out on anybody. So I don't really have anything that's like something to really draw people in. So I think that's what I'm going to focus on over the next few days. Try to see if I can work up a showstopper. There's so many things I had on my list that I'm just not getting done as far as makes go. But I know that the other tasks are just as, if not more important. I do have inventory, so it's not like I'm going without something. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how much I'm going to get made this week, but we'll see how that goes. I do have Friday off. I had already planned to take Friday off. I have a late afternoon doctor's appointment and check-in for the market is at noon. So I'm going to go over there, bring my tent and tables at least, and maybe just like my fixtures, and then I'll set the rest up on Saturday morning. I am going to do my best to record that process so that you guys can see all of that. And on Friday, before I leave for the market, I'll show you everything that I made. You know, to bring to the market. So I am really looking forward to the market. It's my first outdoor one, so we'll see kind of how that goes. I've got my battery pack that's going to be charging, and I'm going to bring some fans and stuff like that. I'm in Florida, so it's going to be in the 80s for sure. It is right now forecasted to rain. I kind of hope it does, but I kind of hope it doesn't in a way, because at least it kind of cools things down a bit, but also the humidity is just going to be insane. So we'll see how all of that goes. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video, which is a market recap. Bye.